Wanna be where you are, once you look away, boy. Be my superstar, your love is all it takes, boy. Wanna be where you are, once you look.
Hi there, it's Paul here from the House of the Outsiders, and thank you once again for dropping by. Today I have a page that, well, didn't start out quite as planned, but not a failure, because there were ways and means of getting it round. When you don't like what's happening, you can always paint over it, as I've heard lots of people say. So anyway, I started with something that's new for me, not acrylic inks, because I have used those before, but previously where I've used a Daler Rowney ink, these are the Liquitex ones. So I grabbed a bottle, and despite the advice that I was given by the gentleman in the art shop, I shook the bottle of ink. But apparently if you're going to use it, don't shake the bottle. I think it's if you use it in a pen, mainly because I think it gives it bubbles and things. But I say, if you're painting it on like I am with a sponge, not to worry. Right, whilst I've been gabbling on, as you've seen on screen, I then started stenciling over in all sorts of paints and inks, and it just turned into a hot mess. It just looked ugh. So I've taken the ink again and I've painted right back over it. It's slightly translucent, so you can see some of the texture below it, but that's brilliant, that's fine. So once it dried, instead of using inks through the stencil, and what I'm going to use is 3 stencils. I think they're 3 of the newest stencils by Tim Holtz. I've taken, I think it's the distressing, the materials will be listed below, distress paint, and I think it's the picked raspberry, or pickled raspberry as I keep thinking of it, and sponged that through in several places randomly for the first 2, and then this last stencil kept it vertical and very light paint, just to give it kind of more of a ghosting effect. Really quite effective. Now, because it was this light on dark, I wanted to bring some of that colour, that deep red colour, back to the top again. So I took a paparazzi paint, that's Bougainville or something, and I sponged that on top just to bring a little bit more of the dark colour together, just to bring the colours to into more just looking violet visually, like a violety colour. Anyway, this is the next day. The paint has dried, and I've taken a green Posca pen, which is what I've done here is I'm using a split complementary colour scheme. I thought because I've got the violet colour as my background, the split complementaries are green and yellow, so I took a green pen and started with the border. And what you see straight away, or at least it does in real life, is how much the green and the purple pop together, or they just bounce off each other, and make each other look more vibrant. So before deciding what I'm going to actually do with my art journal page, I procrastinated by doing the border. And I took my black pen and took a doodle. It's not my doodle, it's one that I've seen on the internet, and I've got a little book that I keep that I do little doodles in, and I took this design and I've been doing it over the last few days. It's a lovely mindless doodle, and I thought, yep, might as well put it to some use and put it into my art journal. So you can see I've speeded it up so you don't have to see me sort of like spend hours and hours and hours doing this border. As usual, great. I love doing these kind of doodles and doodle borders. They do take time, but it's so relaxing, so meditating. And that yellow I mentioned, the other split complementary, I dotted it around the border, and I have to say it really, to me, makes that border zing when I've done it. Sorry, that sounds a bit cheesy, I know. You have to excuse me, occasionally I get cheesy. And sort of like, yep, but I think the green and the yellow go really well with that red, and once I've done that, that was my background finished, and it was time for me to decide what to add over the top. And I didn't use this as a category years, but in some respects, it is a little, because the hat idea came from thinking about the RuPaul's Drag Race latest runway challenge, which was Hats Extravaganza or something. Hats Brilliant. I can't remember what it was called. But I thought, why don't I do a guy that's just got a big hat on? That was my interpretation. It's a starting off point. That's the thing with getting ideas. You just need a jump. It's not your mojo. You just need something to click to just make you jump off. Sort of like make your brain fire off ideas. And the hat was my way of just my introduction into sort of like thinking, what can I do? So I drew this little figure, gave him a drippy gooey body, so you can't see his face, so you leave that to your imagination. I penciled him in, and then I used my pens, the micro pens, to fill it in black. Then you'll notice there was two, because what I did was I scanned it into the computer and then printed a couple side by side. And I reduced the size ever so slightly because what I'd drawn was slightly too large for the journal page. And I've gone back to the complementary colour of greens, and I've added, there's been a lime green and a dark green splodged into the hat. And a neutral colour of grey, of which I added some blue splodges on top of it. And now, once it's dry, I've taken my Faber-Castell Polychromos pencils and added a bit of the shading, as well as taking my white paint pen and adding a few of the highlights. Once it had dried, I deemed the thing ready, and so I cut it out, and I am now gluing it in. I have no idea about where I'm putting things. It's just, I thought, stick it in, look at the page, and then decide what I'm going to do for writing. I mean, at this point, didn't know what the journaling was going to be. So, like a lot of people, I do keep a file of quotes and possible sort of like ideas for journaling. And so I open up the file, look for something I think is going to be appropriate. And I started off by penciling in some guidelines, and then penciled in the actual quote. So I've got a rough idea of where things are for the next stage. And for this, I'm going to take me Posca pens, and I start by just doing a brief, just this kind of, I don't want to say stick insets, like stick letters. And I know from that I can then start bulking them out, start adding a bit of thickness to the letters once I've, as I say, drawn the initial words. Okay, I've edited and sped this up so you don't have to go through hours and hours of watching me do this and all the swearing that goes with it. But yes, I love this. I think I got this, something I heard Michelle Visage say on a podcast. It's a play on the please do not feed the bears, but in this case, it's please do not feed the fears. And I do like a pun. Okay, I noticed at this point that the corners of my journaling had not been filled in. I'd planned to do them straight, whilst I was doing the border, but yeah, brain like a sieve, forgot. Once I'd done those, thought my letters needed outlining. They were sitting a bit flat on the page, and I thought, yeah, they really do need a little black outlining. Once I'd done it, I thought, yeah, that's what was needed. But I wanted to add just a little bit more doodling to my colours. Not the most imaginative way of filling it in, but I've just dotted everything. There's a green in the sort of like the lime green. There's dark green dots over the light green, and there's white over the yellow. And now the thing is, at this point, I noticed there was a little bit too much space above my little guy with the hat. So I thought, why don't I have... I looked through my stamps and I saw this little critter. It's a stamp set from All and Create. And I thought, perfect, if I had him sit on the hat. I mean, it wasn't my first idea. I saw feathers and other things like that, but the stamps I had, which were feathers, were a little bit too big. But I saw this critter and I thought, what? Perfect. Just a random idea. It wasn't thought out. But so glad I came across it. The only thing was how to stamp it so that I had sort of like his little eyebrows sort of like on the page, and then sort of like how to draw and cut it out and colour it in. Anyway, figured a way of doing it. Don't think it was the most clean way of doing it, but hey, I managed it. And just to finish it off, I'm outlining him so that he's got the same thick black outline as my hat guy has. Anyway, I think this video is nearly coming to an end, so thank you for watching and for putting up with my rambling. And yeah, I'll see you soon. Take care for now. There'll be some pictures of close-ups coming up soon. Bye for now.